Meditation is not a path to gain anything more, but a return to what has always been present in every moment of life. Human beings have long carried the habit of seeking, always believing that happiness lies somewhere distant, in a mystical realm or in a special spiritual state. Thus, when many step into meditation, they bring this same craving, hoping it will grant eternal peace or supernatural power. Yet, the more we crave, the further we drift from the true nature of meditation. Meditation is not a journey of pursuit, but a stopping, a quiet seeing that there is nothing more to attain, for everything is already complete here and now. When we sit in stillness, breathe mindfully, and observe body and mind as they are, we discover a simple truth. Peace has never been absent, only hidden by the clouds of thought. Just as the sun always shines, though clouds may obscure it, serenity has always been within us. When the clouds disperse, its light reveals itself. Meditation does not create peace, it merely removes what blinds us from it. Many think meditation is about stopping thoughts. Yet the more we resist, the more restless the mind becomes. Meditation is not a battle against thinking, but a gentle observation. Thoughts come and go like clouds drifting across the sky. The vastness of the sky is never diminished by clouds, just as the stillness of the mind is never lost because of thoughts. When we cease to identify with the stream of ideas, we glimpse the luminous ground that has always been present. In the West, many approach meditation as a relaxation technique, a way to reduce stress. Indeed, it can calm the body and ease the mind, but that is only a side effect. The deeper purpose of meditation is awakening. Awakening is not a mystical achievement, but the capacity to see reality as it truly is, free from illusion and craving. When we see this, there is no need to chase, no need to resist. We simply live in the completeness of the present moment. The Buddha, sitting under the Bodhi tree, was not seeking something new. He simply let go of illusions and looked directly into the nature of life. His enlightenment did not come from gaining, but from realizing that there was no self to defend or glorify. When non-self revealed itself, freedom appeared. The image of the Buddha sitting in stillness has since become an eternal symbol of returning to one's true nature. In daily life, meditation is not confined to the lotus posture. It can be present in every step, every glance, every sip of tea. When we walk, knowing we are walking. When we drink, sensing the flavor spreading across the tongue, we are meditating. Meditation cuts through the endless stream of anxiety about the future and attachment to the past, bringing us back to here and now, where nothing is missing, where everything is already complete. When meditation permeates life, we realize peace is not at the end of the path. Peace is the path itself. Freedom is not a prize for the worthy, but a truth always here for anyone who stops and looks. As the Buddha taught, liberation is not far away. It is present in each breath and each step we take. And when we live fully in the present, we see there is nothing to attain, nothing to add. This life itself is the miracle that has never left us.
Suffering in this life does not truly come from external circumstances as we often believe. Many think their pain comes from poverty, illness, or misfortune. Yet, if we look deeply, we see people who live in hardship but remain peaceful, while others, surrounded by abundance, live in constant turmoil. This shows that the root of suffering lies not in circumstances, but in the mind itself. It is born from the endless craving of desire and the shadow of the ego. Craving makes us feel perpetually lacking. When we gain one thing, we immediately want another. It is like drinking seawater when thirsty. The more we drink, the thirstier we become, never satisfied. The ego whispers that we must be special, superior, more than others. Together, these forces drive us into a cycle without end, where the more we seek, the more bound we become. The more we crave, the more restless we feel. This is why, when we carry craving into meditation, we lose its essence. Meditation is not a tool to reach supernatural states or collect spiritual experiences. If we sit with the thought, "I will be more peaceful," "I will attain something higher," we are feeding the ego rather than dissolving it. True meditation promises nothing. It teaches us to stop and to let go. Letting go is not losing. It is realizing we were never lacking. When we sit in stillness, breathe mindfully, and observe body and mind without judgment, we discover a ground of serenity that has always been there beneath the waves. This peace is not created, but uncovered, like the sun that always shines, though hidden by clouds. When the clouds disperse, the sky reveals its clarity. The Buddha himself is the living testimony to this truth. Before awakening, he endured 6 years of harsh asceticism, craving transcendent states. In the end, he realized that craving itself was the very chain. Abandoning all striving, he sat under the Bodhi tree with no more seeking, no more clinging. In that perfect stillness, awakening dawned. The image of the Buddha in serene meditation stands as an eternal symbol of the power of letting go, reminding us that freedom is not in grasping, but in release. In daily life, we can see this clearly. We may think happiness will come once we achieve the dream job, the perfect relationship, or the ideal life. Yet, even when attained, contentment fades quickly, replaced by new desires. Unless we stop, life becomes nothing but endless pursuit. But when we practice true meditation, we learn to stop within each moment. Walking while knowing we are walking. Eating while fully tasting the food. Breathing while aware of each breath. In this awareness, we see nothing is missing, nothing is needed. Happiness is not at the end of the path. Happiness is the path itself. Meditation also shows us the illusion of self. The I is only an idea.
yet we cling to it as real. We believe there is an I who meditates, an I who must reach enlightenment. But in the depth of meditation, we see only awareness manifesting, with no self to achieve or to prove. When we understand non-self, we lay down the heaviest burden of all. And in letting go, freedom appears as effortlessly as a flower blooming at dawn. This is the essence of meditation, not to gain, but to realize there is nothing to gain. Life itself is already a miracle. In each breath, each step, each glance, we can touch its wonder when the mind is no longer bound by craving and ego. Then suffering dissolves, not because circumstances have changed, but because we see the truth. Just as the Buddha sat in stillness beneath the Bodhi tree at sunrise, we too can find freedom here and now, in the very act of letting go and returning home.
Awakening in Buddhism is not a distant achievement that requires years of struggle, nor a peak we must climb step by step. Awakening is like waking from a long dream, where we suddenly realize that all we once chased, all we clung to, all we suffered for, was only fragile illusion. In the dream, we may succeed or fail, feel joy or sorrow, fight or fall, but upon waking, everything we believed to be real vanishes, and we see it never had any inherent substance. Enlightenment is the same. It is not something new added to us, but the recognition that nothing more was ever needed. In that clear seeing, the mind lets go, and in letting go, freedom appears. The crucial point is that awakening does not lie in the future, nor depend on a long, arduous journey. It can happen here and now, when we breathe and know we are breathing, when we walk and know we are walking, when we look and truly see. In that simple awareness, the gate opens. Awakening does not require the mystical, but only the courage to stop and see reality as it is. The Buddha, on the night of his enlightenment, did not gain something new. He simply let go, abandoned all craving and extremes, and looked directly into the truth that all things are impermanent and without self. When the veils fell away, the light of awakening shone forth. For this reason, he taught that all beings possess Buddha nature. All are capable of awakening as he did. The difference is only that we are still dreaming, mistaking illusion for reality, while he has awakened. In meditation, if we still carry the thought that we must reach this state or attain that realization, meditation becomes another race for the ego, and its essence is obscured. True meditation is simply living with awareness, adding nothing, seeking nothing, resisting nothing. When we sit, breathe, and smile, observing without judgment, the mind becomes clear, and in that clarity, awakening is already present.
Awakening is no farther than a mindful breath, no higher than a grounded step. It is not a lofty peak, but the simple vision of life's nature. Sometimes awakening comes in the moment we see a leaf fall and suddenly understand impermanence. Sometimes it comes in drinking a cup of tea and sensing life fully in its flavor. What matters is not extraordinary states, but direct contact with what is. Meditation is the cultivation of this contact, so that in every act of daily life we can live in clarity. Looking deeper, we see awakening does not belong to any self. If we still think, "I am enlightened, I have attained," it is only the ego dressed in new clothes. True awakening is the dissolving of self, the presence of pure awareness unbound by any label. In this seeing, separation fades. There is no gap between self and other, between me and the world. And in this realization, compassion naturally blooms. For when we see that another's suffering is also our own, we cannot turn away. After his enlightenment, the Buddha did not keep awakening for himself. He rose and walked among people, planting seeds of mindfulness in humanity. The image of the Buddha sitting serene under the Bodhi tree, eyes half closed, posture unshaken, remains a living reminder to us today. Enlightenment is not beyond reach. It is here, in this very breath. If we stop, we will see. If we let go, we will be free. And that freedom is not a distant reward, but the very nature of life that has never left us.
Awakening cannot be captured in words. Whatever we say about awakening is only a finger pointing to the moon, not the moon itself. Language, no matter how skillful, is only a symbol, a shadow. And if we cling to it, we miss the reality shining right here and now. After his enlightenment, the Buddha often chose silence rather than explanation, for he knew ultimate truth could never be confined within words. Awakening is not a concept to understand, but a reality to live. Just as when we are thirsty, we do not need a lecture on water, but a drink. So too, enlightenment does not come from description, but from direct experience. When people hear about awakening, they often imagine it as a mystical state, a special feeling, or a lofty realm. But such imagining becomes an obstacle. For when we think awakening must be like this or that, we are chasing shadows of thought instead of seeing the reality already here. Awakening has no shape, no color, no temporary sensation. It is the direct realization that all things are impermanent, without self, and that life has never been separate from us. When this is seen, the mind naturally lets go, and in letting go, freedom is revealed. In the history of Zen, many stories show that words cannot touch the core of awakening. One master, when asked about truth, simply held up a flower. Once, in front of a great assembly, the Buddha lifted a lotus blossom and smiled. No word was spoken, yet one disciple awakened instantly. This shows that awakening is not in explanations, but in direct presence. If we cling to words, we grasp only the shell.
If we still the mind and open the heart, we touch the truth that has never been absent. Awakening requires no description, for it is life itself unfolding in each breath, each step, each gaze. When we breathe and know we breathe, when we walk aware of our feet on the ground, when we look and see things as they are, awakening is already there. Nothing needs to be added, nothing needs to be awaited. We need only release ideas, stop, and see the light shining on its own. Some may ask, if awakening cannot be described, why did the Buddhas and masters teach? The answer is that teachings are skillful means. They are like rafts to cross the river. Once we reach the other shore, we no longer carry the raft. If we cling to words, we become stuck. If we use them as guidance, they point the way. And once we see the moon, we no longer need the finger. Awakening cannot be grasped or owned. It is not a state to possess, but an awareness ever fresh. If we think, I am enlightened, and cling to that thought, the ego immediately returns, dressed in new clothes. True awakening leaves no trace of self, for when it shines forth, the self has dissolved. Only clarity remains, vast, luminous, and compassionate. The image of the Buddha sitting serene beneath the Bodhi tree is a symbol of this truth. He did not win enlightenment by collecting knowledge or experiences, but by letting go of all craving and extremes, by seeing reality directly. In that stillness, the veils fell away, and the light of awakening appeared. From then on, he used words, stories, and symbols to guide beings, yet always reminded that words are only tools, while truth must be seen directly. If we wish to know awakening, we should not cling to descriptions. Instead, we turn inward. We sit in silence, breathe, walk, look, and listen. When the mind no longer runs after past or future, when we are fully present, truth reveals itself. In that moment, no questions remain, no definitions are needed. There is only pure life, radiant, boundless, and free.
Meditation is not about sitting for long hours, diving into deep states, or witnessing strange visions. Such forms often create the misunderstanding that enlightenment is something mystical, reserved for a rare few with special powers. Yet the truth is far simpler, almost too simple to believe. Meditation is not for accumulating extraordinary experiences, but for returning to life as it unfolds, to each breath, each step, each sensation in the present. If we equate meditation with sitting still for hours or entering unusual states, we miss its essence. Enlightenment is not found in such experiences, but in the simple seeing that all things are impermanent, selfless, and complete, here and now. Many practitioners in the past also made this mistake. They thought they had to pass through deep absorptions or have supernatural experiences to prove their progress. But the Buddha made clear that enlightenment is not an addition, but a release. When he sat under the Bodhi tree, he was not hoping for visions, nor waiting for some special state. He simply stopped, let go of all craving, and looked directly into the nature of reality. In that pure stillness,
He saw that suffering arises from ignorance and clinging, and that freedom lies in letting go of that ignorance. Awakening appeared not as a miracle, but as a dawn revealing what was already there. When we sit in meditation with the craving for special experiences, that very craving becomes the barrier. Meditation is not about seeing more, but seeing clearly. Seeing clearly the breath entering and leaving. Seeing clearly the body sitting, touching the ground. Seeing clearly the stream of thoughts rising and falling. Seeing clearly that we are not those thoughts, but the awareness that observes. In this clarity, nothing is mystical, yet it is profoundly miraculous, for it frees us from the illusion that we must become something other than what we are. In today's world, meditation is often tied to relaxation, or the image of someone sitting in long, deep absorption. This can make many feel meditation is beyond their reach. Yet, meditation is not reserved for a select group. It is open to all, for anyone can breathe, walk, and observe. Enlightenment is not a lofty peak for the chosen few, but a capacity already within each human being. Simply by returning to the present and living fully, we touch it. The image of the Buddha, seated under the Bodhi tree, has become the symbol of meditation. Yet what matters is not the posture itself, but the mind that has completely let go of seeking. The greatness of the Buddha did not lie in how deep his absorption was, but in his total stopping and seeing reality as it is.
Thus, meditation is not about turning ourselves into someone else, but about returning to who we truly are, where life is already whole. When we understand this, we are no longer dazzled by appearances, but touch life directly. And then we see that meditation is not distant, enlightenment is not mysterious. They are always here, in every breath, every step, every gaze we take. Awakening is not a mysterious event that appears only after years of arduous practice. It can arise in the most ordinary moments of life. Simply hearing the song of a bird at dawn or seeing a flower gently sway in the breeze, we may suddenly touch the deepest truth. It is not a vision defined by knowledge, nor an experience to collect, but a pure seeing, clear and unburdened, free of the thought, I am the one who sees. When the self is absent and only life reveals itself, awakening is there. In such moments, there is no seer and no seen, no division, only a single flow of existence, bright, vast, and whole. This vision is not manufactured by effort, but shines forth when the mind ceases its search. Just as a still lake naturally reflects the sky, a mind free from the ripples of craving mirrors reality as it is. Enlightenment, then, is never far. It can happen in the smallest details of life, when we let go of analysis, labels, and comparisons. Many imagine that awakening must come with extraordinary phenomena, radiant lights, or transcendent feelings. But if such things arise, they are incidental, not the essence. The essence is simple seeing without the shadow of ego. When hearing a bird's song and only sound remains without the thought of a listener. When seeing a flower move and only its movement remains without the idea of I observing, that is awakening. The Buddha taught that truth is present in all things, not far away, not to be sought in some other realm.
The awakened one is simply the one who sees reality as it is, without addition, without subtraction. The image of the Buddha sitting still beneath the Bodhi tree is testimony to this simplicity. He did not chase visions or pursue the extraordinary. He simply let go and looked deeply. When all was released, pure vision dawned, and as morning broke, awakening revealed itself. Awakening does not belong to any special moment. It can arrive the instant we open the door to the present. A laugh, a raindrop, a glance may open the gate. What matters is a mind fully present, no longer dragged by illusions. Then we truly touch life as it unfolds, and life has never lacked its radiance.
Awakening in Buddhism is often described as sudden awakening, like a lightning bolt flashing across the sky, unpredictable and unprepared. One may practice for years, sit in countless hours of meditation, study endless scriptures, yet the moment of awakening arises unexpectedly, when all notions and all striving dissolve. Sudden awakening is not the result of linear accumulation, but the eruption of wisdom when the mind fully returns to the present. One of the most famous stories illustrating this is the encounter between Huike and Bodhidharma. Huike came to the master, desperately asking to be given peace of mind. Bodhidharma said, "Bring me your mind, and I will pacify it for you." Huike turned inward, searching everywhere for his mind, but found nothing. At last he said, "I cannot find my mind." Bodhidharma replied, "Then I have already pacified it for you." In that instant, like a lightning strike, Huike awakened. He realized that the mind has no form, cannot be grasped, and that suffering arises only from clinging to the illusion of a real self to hold on to. That moment required no preparation, nor any gradual process. It came as soon as all searching stopped. Just as thunder has no warning and lightning arrives without appointment, awakening bursts forth when delusion falls away. This is the essence of sudden enlightenment. It does not follow a timeline. It does not depend on progress. It simply appears when there is total release. This reminds us that awakening is not a reward at the end of the path, but can appear at any moment, even in ordinary life. Whether sitting quietly, drinking tea, or in the midst of suffering, if the mind fully lets go, the light of awakening can flash forth. The story of Huike shows us there is nothing to grasp and no one to be saved. Seeing clearly this selfless nature, freedom is instantly present. The image of the Buddha awakening beneath the Bodhi tree is also an example of sudden enlightenment. After 6 years of fruitless asceticism, he abandoned all extremes, simply sat in stillness, and awakened at dawn. That enlightenment was not the conclusion of accumulation, but the sudden eruption of wisdom when all striving ceased. This is the message of meditation. Awakening is never far, never later, but always present. With one true letting go, awakening reveals itself.
The signs of awakening are not extraordinary phenomena, not mystical lights or supernatural feelings, but simplicity, naturalness, and a mind free from grasping. When one truly awakens, there is no sense of having achieved something special. On the contrary, life feels lighter, more ordinary, and closer than ever. Awakening does not make someone superhuman. It restores them to their original clarity, where everything is seen as it is. When the mind is still, truth reveals itself, like the moon reflected on a calm lake. If the lake is stirred by wind, the image of the moon is distorted. But when the water is still, the moon appears in its fullness. Likewise, when the mind is disturbed by craving, fear, or attachment, we see reality through the distortions of ego. When the mind truly rests, no longer seeking, resisting, or clinging, truth, which has always been present, shines forth. This shows that awakening is not a state maintained by tense effort, but something natural. It is like the breath. When we stop controlling it, it flows easily. When we release our striving, wisdom arises on its own, uninvited. The awakened do not live apart from the world. They still eat, drink, walk, and speak, but everything they do is infused with freedom and stillness. The mindless quality of awakening does not mean apathy or indifference, but rather a mind no longer bound by the illusions of self. It is a mind free from discrimination, free from grasping, free from being led by thoughts. The mind is like the sky, vast and clear, allowing clouds to pass without obstruction. In such spaciousness, compassion and wisdom naturally arise, for without the walls of ego, we embrace all as ourselves. The image of the Buddha after his enlightenment reflects this truth. He did not become a deity with great powers, but simply a human being fully awake, living in the world with a heart of compassion. He saw the true nature of life, and from that vision, his every word and deed carried simplicity and depth. That simplicity is the clearest sign of awakening. If we want to recognize the signs of awakening in ourselves, we should not seek supernatural experiences, but notice the peace within each moment. If we can sit quietly, breathe gently, and feel no inner struggle, if we can smile at impermanence without fear, then that is the sign of awakening. In that moment, truth is no longer far away. It is reflecting in our daily lives, like the moon shining on a calm and silent lake.
If, after claiming awakening, a person becomes complicated in speech, or arrogant in attitude, or eager to prove their uniqueness, then that is not true awakening. The nature of awakening cannot be expressed through boasting or elaborate explanation. Awakening does not need to be defended nor displayed. When one truly touches awakening, they become simpler, more natural, and clearer. Awakening does not need to be kept, for it is not an object one can store away. If we think we must hold on to enlightenment, then ego has already crept back in. True awakening is like the breath. We cannot hold it. We can only breathe in and out naturally. To try to hold awakening is to lose it. Nor does awakening need to be proven. If the mind still feels the need to say, "I am enlightened," then truth is already veiled. Only the ego needs to assert and compare, while wisdom shines quietly.
Those who are truly awakened live very ordinary lives. They eat when hungry, sleep when tired, laugh when joyful, cry when moved. Yet within these simple acts, there is a profound ease. No more struggle with life, no more need to compete or prove. Their presence naturally radiates peace, not through long sermons, but through the way they live. Like a pure spring, it does not need to advertise itself, but whoever comes near feels its freshness. After his enlightenment, the Buddha did not proclaim himself as someone special, nor declare enlightenment as a victory. He simply sat in silence for many days, then arose with compassion to teach. His strength did not come from proving himself, but from the natural light that shone through his every gesture and word. This is the mark of true awakening. Not complicated, not arrogant, not in need of display, but simple and clear like the moon reflected on a still lake. True awakening is not something we become, but the fading of the self that always wants to become. When that self quiets down, truth reveals itself. And when truth shines forth, life becomes simple, ordinary, yet deeply miraculous.
Awakening is different from concentration. Concentration can bring calm, ease, and a sense of rest in stillness. When the mind is gathered on one object and distractions subside, we may feel free from troubles for a while. Yet concentration still depends on effort. It is like a pond held still by barriers. When strong winds come, the surface is disturbed again. The peace of concentration is temporary, maintained only by practice and conditions. When effort fades, so does the peace. Awakening, however, is entirely different. It is a direct illumination, effortless, beyond control. It is like light suddenly flashing in a dark room, not because we turned on a switch, but because darkness no longer remains. In awakening, all striving ceases, all seeking ends, and truth reveals itself. It does not arise from focusing on an object, but from seeing clearly that all things are impermanent, without self, and ungraspable. Concentration can be useful as a tool, steadying the restless mind and preparing the ground for wisdom. But it is not the goal. If we cling to concentration, we remain within control, still bound by the self that wants to maintain peace. Awakening transcends that boundary. In awakening, there is no self to preserve, no state to protect, only boundless freedom, complete liberation. The Buddha himself experienced profound states of concentration during his years of ascetic practice. Yet he saw that these states were not liberation. Concentration brought temporary calm, but still belonged to the cycle of birth and death. Only when he let go completely, sitting quietly under the Bodhi tree, did he directly see truth, and awakening dawned. From then on, he taught that concentration is a support, but insight is the path to liberation. Awakening is the flowering of that insight, not fabricated, but the nature already present. Awakening does not need to be sustained as a state, for whenever the self falls away, it appears. It is not bound by time or place. A sound, a light, a breath can open it. Concentration requires effort and method. Awakening transcends method. It is direct seeing, unmediated by concepts. This shows us that if we stop at concentration, we may mistakenly think we have reached the goal. Yet concentration is only the mind's temporary rest, while awakening is its complete transformation. Concentration is like stopping to catch one's breath while running. Awakening is realizing we never needed to run at all. Awakening brings complete liberation because it is not a state, but a vision of life's true nature. Once seen, the mind is free in every circumstance. There is no division of inner and outer, no fear, no craving. Like the vast sky untouched by clouds, awakening allows us to live in the openness that was always here, where every chain falls away.